First order of business is taking the roll.
Kuhn.
Here.
Reedy.
Here.
Feeney's excused. LaBrilliard. Here. McLaughlin.
Here.
Plotsky.
Here.
Ricard.
Present.
Bergdorf.
Here.
And Pearlie.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Great, thank you so much. First item of business is approving the previous meeting minutes. Can I have a motion on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We got a lot of stuff on the agenda tonight, and we're gonna take some stuff out of order because of people's schedules. So we're gonna skip to item 21, which is authorizing an agreement with Election Systems and Software LLC regarding the purchase of a high-speed central ballot scanner and tabulator. And I believe we have our esteemed
I
election
think it's
commissioners.
item 22.
I have this as 21 on my agenda.
It's item 21.
I got it at 22.
Yeah, I did too.
Granicus is 22.
Oh,
When I saw it 22, but, you know.
Okay, on
Some
the
things can change.
printed version is 21.
Yeah, that's the one I saw, 21.
Okay, well, regardless of the number, that is the item. So, election commissioners, would you
What
like
is it
to?
in Granicus?
Absolutely.
Maybe you want to introduce yourselves for the record?
Sure thing. Allison McLean Lane, Democratic Commissioner for Board of Elections.
Rachel Bloody, Republican Commissioner for the Board of Elections.
Great,
Good
thank
evening,
you.
everyone.
Good evening.
So we're seeking approval to purchase a high-speed central ballot scanner and tabulator to facilitate ballot canvassing in the amount of $150,160. The DS950 is manufactured by ES&S, the same company that supplies our voting machines and ballot creation software. We currently have one ballot scanner and have determined that a second scanner is definitely necessary to handle the volume of ballots scanned and to ensure a backup machine is available in the event maintenance is required, which has happened before, previously during the presidential. The DS950 is listed on an OGS contract, and it has an award with a contract period of June 15th, 2021 through June 14th, 2026. BOE has received a reimbursable New York State grant, ballot by mail grant, in the amount of $123,944.27 to help offset the cost. That puts our share at approximately $26,165. However, there are more grants pending with New York State BOE, and we are both actively working to ensure that if we are able to get the rest of that money covered, we will. It should be noted that we did have challenges, of course, that were reiterated to me by my counterpart, Ms. Bloody, and then also by my deputy, because I was not present at BOE at the time, that there were challenges with the current 950, and you don't want to be caught with 16,000 absentee ballots without a backup. So that is where we are.
And this was anticipated in the budget.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions about this? Anybody? Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Judy? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much.
Okay, item 22/23 is authorizing agreements with New York State Industries for the Disabled Inc. regarding the digitization and indexing of records. And I believe we have.
Hang on, what is it in Granicus?
24.
Oh, now we're two off?
Apparently a resolution that went, that received a negative recommendation last month is still in Granicus on the thing. I'm not sure why it's showing up, because it's not properly on the agenda. The printed agenda is correct.
Okay, well,
The printed,
in any event,
Who wants a printed agenda?
I'll give everybody,
I just want to be able to follow it on. If someone could tell us what it is what it is on Granicus.
Well, we don't know what it is on Granicus because we don't have Granicus. So it'll be 24, thank you.
number 24 on Granicus, number 22 and the hard copy. Authorizing agreements with New York State Industries for the Disabled Inc. regarding the digitization and indexing of records. Archivist, I think Richard Wright Ramos is here. Talk to us about this. Thank you. You guys just want to introduce yourselves for the record?
I'm Ricardo Ray Ramos, Archivist at the Hall of Records.
I'm Craig Carlson, Director of the Lebanon County Hall of Records and Deputy County Clerk.
Awesome, great, thank you so much.
So the Hall of Records is seeking approval to enter into 2 contracts with New York State Industries for the Disabled. We're doing a grant project in partnership with the City of Waterville to digitize and index records, both at the Hall of Records and for the City of Waterville. This was approved in November, the acceptance of the grant, and then since both contracts are over $100,000, we need approval to enter into those contracts with the vendor themselves.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about this? Yes, Dr. McLaughlin.
Thank you. A couple of months ago, I paid a visit to the Hall of Records, and boxes were to the ceiling, everywhere. Now, is this going to eliminate some of that and provide you space for additional records that are constantly coming?
This particular project is targeting archival records that are permanent, so it's not going to impact directly the boxes that we have. This project is more geared towards making records digital and available to the citizens at a much faster and easier rate compared to having to pull physical records out of boxes or out of volumes and search through them by hand, which puts the records both at risk of being damaged as well as takes significantly longer than being able to search through them. Once they're indexed digitally, we can search a person's name and find everything we need in a matter of moments rather than several hours.
Nor will we have to transfer them in from the municipality for more storage. They could stay at the local level,
Yes.
not come to us. And currently, we're piggybacking with the New York State Archives and using their destruction company. So now we're gonna start putting on more destruction, stuff that legally can be destroyed through the state archives. So on the tour you took with your colleagues, you did see a lot of records stored there, a lot. And we need help, and we found a vendor for free, so that's always good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion?
Motion.
Speedy, Splotsky? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, items 23, we'll do one at a time, 23 and 25 on Granicus, maybe?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Amending resolution number 612 for 2024 and amending the 2025 Crime Victim and Sexual Violence Center budget. I believe we have Director Amanda Wingle here.
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you so much.
This is 25,
25 Paul, yeah.
Everybody good?
All 25.
Yeah, I'm on 25.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Proceed.
how about the,
Good evening, everyone. Amanda Wingle, Director of Albany County Crime Victim and Sexual Violence Center. I'm here tonight to request approval to allocate $30,950 of previously received grant funding from the Department of Health to the fees for services line. This money will be used for our community safety project, and what it will be specifically used for is to contract with groups in the community in order to for them to assist us with needs assessments, surveys, as we try to narrow down what the project is going to focus on, as well as obtaining some data analysis training for our staff who are working on the project. So this is, it's grant money that we already received, it just hadn't been allocated yet.
Okay,
Yep.
great, thanks so much. Does anyone have any questions on this particular line item? Dr. McLaughlin?
I mean, I know the money's been received.
Yes.
What community organizations do you happen to know that you partnered with to do the?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'd certainly be happy to get that information to you. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anything else? Okay, can I have a motion? Reedy, Ricard? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next item is 24/26, amending resolution number 76 for 2022 and amending the 2025 Crime Victim and Sexual Violence Center budget. What, that one?
Yes. So this is grant funding that we were recently notified that we were awarded in the amount of $12,888. It is from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services, and it's part of a rape crisis and sexual assault programs supplemental COVID-19 grant that they started back during COVID. So we're requesting permission tonight to accept that grant funding. We're allocating the money toward staff salaries. They're not increasing, we're just putting them toward what's already budgeted. And then we're also using the money in addition for some of our prevention education initiatives.
Okay, great, thanks. Does anybody have any questions about that particular line item? Okay, or agenda item, I should say. Can I have a motion? Motion, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Okay, item 2527, I'm assuming, is amending an agreement with AJ3 Solutions LLC and Catalog and Commerce Solutions LLC regarding an electronic contract management system. I believe we have senior policy analyst Joshua Beams here tonight.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
actually
Which one is
28.
this again? I'm sorry.
It's
I believe this-
28.
Oh,
28.
okay,
Okay.
very complicated.
Okay, so the purpose of this request is to amend contract 2024-2276 with AJ3 Solutions and Catalyst and Commerce. Due to a clerical error by the vendor, $61,200 was not included in the initial request for contract authorization that went before the Contract Administration Board in October, which would have kicked it over the cab limit for this year. So that's why we're coming to you for this, but we're also coming to get the full years 2 through 5 authorized at the same time so that we don't have to come back every year for reauthorization for the new electronic contract management system.
Can I just ask a question? Just a point of clarity on that. So, am I correct in saying that $61,000 was the error of the vendor? Is that what you just said?
Yes, it's a little hard to explain, but because of the way they bill, it was not made clear to us that they were billing us on January 1st. We thought because we signed on September 15th, the contract with them, and most of the time, we're just going to pay them again on September 15th of next year, and they're requesting now that we pay them, January 1st was the due date.
So was their error, is that correct?
Yes.
So, in other committees that I'm on, various individuals came before the body, and similar situations have happened. And I asked them the same question I'm gonna ask you. So nothing like this would be covered on like errors in admission policy or anything that the county taxpayers wouldn't have to pay for that, or?
I mean, they would have, it's more of how we're paying it. It's all going to be the same amount of money, but it's just, we're paying it earlier. It's authorizing us to pay it within the contract year, instead of like paying them the initial cost for we're paying them the initial cost for the package, basically, the software package, and then paying them for year 2, really.
Okay, so we're not paying, the
We're not paying
$61,000
more.
already allocated for
It's-
somewhere in the future,
right.
but we're just gonna
Right.
pay it now, is that what you're trying to say?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you,
Yes.
thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Timing.
Mr. Bergdorf?
I am totally confused, and perhaps you can help me. But this gets into the whole issue of CAB, its limits, and cumulative purchases under CAB. I was under the impression that if you were making sequential purchases under CAB that exceed the limit, the entire contract has to come before the county legislature and not CAB. So could you go over what the time periods are and the total amount of procurement? I have no problem with the purchase. I'm trying to understand how we are going in the future to be integrating CAB and county legislative approval. How we can bounce back and forth between CAB and the legislature and saying, well, we won't have to see this again because the other pieces will be smaller, if that's what I heard you say, runs up against the concept, which I have been told definitively beforehand, that one of the things we've been dinged on in audits was cumulative procurements under CAB for the same product.
Okay,
I don't know, Dave, do
Can you
you
put-
want to help with this, or, I'm sorry, I don't want to
No.
speak for the county executive's office, but
No, and my.
do you understand my confusion?
Yes, so there's
Okay.
no back and forth, you can only escalate up a level. So the initial authorization was simply a cab level, it said, you know, the cost of, you know, starting up this program for X amount of time is Y. And then we
So
brought
from,
back the
what
cab.
did you use, from September to the end of the year?
It was just
September to September, but it was $97,200, so it would have been under the $100,000
Yep.
limit. And this,
Okay.
within the contract, it has, we have the first year, the implementation year, and then we have 4 independent years where we have to reauthorize them.
Okay, but for how much money?
The total is $353,700.
Okay,
for 5
so,
years.
so I guess that's where I'm having my disconnect, is if we are ultimately spending $347,000, I don't understand how it could even, the first year, be authorized by CAB, because it's a contract exceeding even the new amount of CAB over a 4-year period. Are you following what I'm getting at?
Yep, no, I.
And I'm trying to understand what rules we're playing by in the future.
I would have to go back to look at the actual underlying documents to see how that's phrased in there. I don't offhand know.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult.
No, it's
I'm
fine.
I'm trying
So-
to understand.
So my understanding is that when we went to CAB, we were signing up for the initial first year. So we went to CAB, and then there was the clerical error that really should have sent it over the limit, and that was on the vendor side.
Okay.
But
and
in the same token.
What was the 97 with the clerical error? How much is that? Is that adding the six?
I'm not sure, but I guess I just want to go back
Okay,
to your
all right.
previous point, though. So when we were going back and retooling the contract, instead of going to just the 1 year, we just went ahead and signed up for the multiple year. So that's why we're coming back here. So initially, we weren't planning on committing to the full, how many years? 5. So we were just going with the 1 year because it's a new vendor with a new product that we haven't used before. But then as we started utilizing the system and gaming it out, we decided to come back and get approval for the multi-year. So I think we're still operating within the rules because originally we went to CAB, and once we knew that went over the threshold and we're doing a multi-year, we're coming to you folks to get the full approval from the full ledge.
I follow your logic. I'm not sure I agree with it, but I follow your logic.
That's why we're here, right?
Well,
Like, we're
yeah,
here to get
yeah,
approval
to
because it's
make
over
sure-
the cap
To kind
threshold.
of
So,
correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, can we assume in the future that if we want to enter into a 5-year contract for $800,000 and the first year is $210,000, that will never come before the legislature? Because the first part goes to CAB, but then we're authorizing a 5-year contract for $800,000 that would normally come to the legislature?
If we know that it's gonna be a multi-year contract at the outset, then yeah, we would come to the full ledge. But if we're signing up and we don't know we're doing a full year, and it's just the 1 year, and it's under the CAB threshold, then we're not gonna come to the full ledge.
What you authorized at CAB was just 1 year.
Yes.
And subsequently to what was adopted at CAB in September, you made a determination that it should be a 5-year program.
I think are we signing for 5, or is it?
Well, we have
You get the
the option
authorization.
of renewal every year.
Okay, so it really is potentially a 5-year contract. See, that's why I'm having trouble understanding how this is gonna be going forward. That's all, Madam Chairwoman. These are some of the concerns that I had been raising, and it is clear as mud to me how big contracts in the future that far exceed $215,000 will be handled if you can buy the first year portion for this and not make a decision that you're going forward, even though you know you're going forward.
But that's the opposite of what we're doing here. We're obviously.
No, I
In faith,
I
you're
understand.
assuming
but
that
I'm-
we're going to
Mr.
trust.
Mr.
Yeah,
Burgo,
yeah,
he's responding to your point.
No, I
Let him
appreciate
respond
that.
to it.
yeah.
But yeah, you're making an assumption that we're gonna act in bad faith. We're here
No,
doing
I
what you're
didn't-
saying we should do.
I didn't say you were going to act in bad faith. I'm trying to figure out, are we setting a precedent for the future and what that precedent will be?
Okay, I think we get.
I don't think we're
we
breaking the
under-
rule right now, so I don't think it's a
I
precedent.
didn't say you were breaking the rule.
Precedent is set.
It's just odd to me that CAB would authorize the first year of a $360,000.
That's not what was presented to Kev, as was said here.
Okay,
What
well,
was
I
presented
don't
to
have
Kev was
what
the
was
first
presented.
year. And then-
Dave, I don't have what was presented to CAB.
If we could go
That's why
back
I
in
asked
time
the
and we
questions.
knew what we know now, then yeah, we would've just came straight to the ledge. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I do remember this discussion at CAB. There was a lot of discussion about the merits of this software that will make our contracting more efficient and easier to manage and much better for the county as a whole. And it was a 1 year. I remember this because I asked a lot of questions about it. So, and I would say, just as a little comment, that we are setting a precedent, and the precedent is that they have come back for the multi-year approval that we're entertaining. So I think that's evident from here, and thanks for
Okay.
3 of you stepping up to answer.
Well, no, I appreciate it. If that is the precedent, that something that approved under CAB
Yeah.
is now gonna go over the CAB limit, no matter how many years it
But
is,
that's
it'll
always
come
been
back.
that's always been the precedent. But you can go
And
back
I-
and
I-
have one of
I-
the staff dig up the old cab from September and
I
verify.
appreciate that clarification.
My
okay,
pleasure.
can I have a motion to move this?
Motion.
Second. Mr. Ricard, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay, thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.
So now we're gonna go back to the start of the agenda. I'm gonna go off the numbers I have in front of me. I'm not gonna read each of these things that are tabled at request of sponsor, but I hope everyone operating off of Granicus can follow along. Number 2 is tabled at request of sponsor. Number 3 is tabled at request of sponsor. That brings us to number 4 on my agenda, which is the public hearing on proposed local law N for 2024, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending the Albany County Charter and local law number 8 for 1993 as amended.
And this is in reference to the coroner versus ME model that you have before you. I'm going to step into the staff role. Someone in my office, Courtney Carrion, did much of the research related to this, but unfortunately today is her birthday, so she has better places to be. So, I'm Rebecca Kennedy, Majority Counsel. This is Faye.
Hi, my name is Faye Fetters. I'm the Data Analytics and Performance Management Coordinator for Albany County. I work out of Management and Budget.
Great, thank you so much for being here tonight. Do you want to, I guess, walk us through this presentation?
Yeah, of course. So just for reference, since it's my first time meeting all of you, happy to be here. My educational background is in forensics. I'm currently getting a master's in forensics. I have a bachelor's in crime scene investigation. I'm a level 1 certified crime analyst through New York State. In addition to that, I've also taken an outdoor human remains recovery course at the Texas Anthropology Research Facility. So with all that being said, we're happy to talk to you all about this. So the first slide that you have before you is the purpose of coroners/medical examiners. As you can see, basically, their job is to investigate specific types of deaths that happen within their jurisdiction, which for Albany County would be Albany County itself. So that includes if someone is injured, they're taken to Albany Med, and they unfortunately pass away at Albany Med, that's gonna fall under Albany County's jurisdiction, whether we have the coroners and medical examiners.
For the I guess, second slide, duties of coroners and medical examiners. So they are given the opportunity or the authority to inquiry into unnatural deaths within the county and also into all deaths that occur at a correctional facility as to an inmate. They also can both perform whatever duties are prescribed by the county legislature and the district attorney for, in the case of medical examiners. There are some differences between them. Coroners are obviously elected, medical examiners are appointed. Coroners, there's no medical background necessary. Medical examiners are obviously medical doctors who have all licenses appropriate for that. They both are tasked with the additional and related duties as are prescribed by the county legislature, with, again, the medical examiners also being given tasks potentially by the district attorney. And coroners require the appointment of a coroner's physician if the coroner themselves are not physicians, which in our county they are not. In most coroner counties they are not. And then non-physician coroners have jurisdiction and authority that is joint with the coroner's physician, so they can act in conjunction with the coroner's physician.
So New York is a mixed state, so that means in the state of New York itself, some counties have coroner's offices, some counties have medical examiner's offices. New York is also a bit more unique for the point that 3 counties have a coroner model, but the district attorney serves as the elected coroner. Albany County, as I'm sure you all are familiar with, is a coroner's office at this point in time. Albany County, having said that, is one of the largest counties in New York State that still uses the coroner model.
And if you look at the map, you'll notice that the red counties that have the medical examiner are, there are a couple of local ones, but they are also the largest areas and most populated areas in the state. So most of, like your Onondaga County, your Syracuse, your Rochester, your Buffalo, and of course down in the city all have medical examiners. Albany County's current rate for an autopsy is $1,200 through Ellis Hospital, which was the sole bidder. There are some important statistics that are, I don't even know what number, I should have numbered these, I apologize. It's the Albany County Important Statistics section. So we are creeping up for coroner cases that require autopsies each year. In 2023, it was 396. And the budget is also increasing. The coroner's budget for laboratory fees and services increased 44% from 24 to 25. The medical services and therapy line increased 18%, and the coroner per diem increased 125% in that same time.
And just for some reference with those specific numbers, those first off are budgeted amounts. In addition, as you can see, since the cases are climbing, that's part of why those lines are going to increase. So the first one, the laboratory fees and services, those are payments to Ellis Hospital for their morgue services, in addition to NMS Labs, which is the company that does our toxicology services in relation to the coroners and their duties. The second one, the medical services and therapy, those are to the doctors who are specifically doing and conducting those autopsies who work out of Ellis Hospital. And then the last one, even though it does have 125% increase, there have been no payments made out of that line for 24 or for 25 year to date.
Albany County, the next slide is how does Albany County compare? You'll see that we are very similar to other counties that do have medical examiner models, with also about the same budget as they have, although we have a coroner model. So we have 4 elected coroners and 1 full-time employee. Rockland County, which has 20,000 more people than Albany County, has a budget of $2 million, and they have 8 full-time employees. Onondaga is another county that has significantly more people than us, almost 500,000, but they have what is known as a regional morgue, regional facility for these purposes, and their budget is also $2 million. Amongst the issues that are coming up for counties are the costs of autopsy, morgue, and toxicology services. As noted, we contract with Ellis for those services currently. That's been the traditional model. Recently, a trend has happened is occurring where hospitals are closing their morgues and outsourcing these services for coroners and medical examiners who are taking over the body storage and autopsy, usually in connection with a regional facility of some sort. This also happened in Albany County where they closed off a portion of what they were willing to take on, and then they increased their rates significantly.
And that's why Albany County went with Ellis Hospital instead of Albany Med. In addition to that, there is a nationwide shortage of forensic pathologists, which is typically the medical doctor who's going to be conducting the autopsy. For reference, based on this paper by the National Commission of Forensic Science, the paper is titled Increasing the Number, Retention, and Quality of Board-Certified Forensic Pathologists. Each year, there's around 41 individuals who are in medical school with the destination of becoming a forensic pathologist. Of those 41, once they graduate, only around 21 are going to end up practicing forensic pathology full-time. All right, so the slide, possible solution, county-owned facility. Obviously, as we laid out, there's a couple routes that can be taken. So one of the solutions that we're looking into is a possibility of a county-owned facility. So again, as she mentioned earlier, kind of having a regional facility where it wouldn't just be Albany County doing Albany County autopsies. There's potential to make additional revenue by having some bordering counties or maybe some more northern counties with lower population densities come on board, and we would be able to make revenue that way and help support the facility. In addition, you have those forensic pathologists who are board certified to conduct autopsies, being able to do what they do and what they're trained to do, and to be able to do it very well. In addition to that, again, shared resources. So you're getting your money's worth. In addition to that, you're also getting high quality results, which is always a positive.
Warren County recently did a feasibility study. They spent well over $100,000 to do this, to see what it would be like to come up with a regional forensic center in this area generally. They're the only area that has looked really into it with any degree of certainty, but they have, my understanding they have indicated that they would be interested in partnering with Albany County or any downstate area. And by downstate, I mean downstate of Warren County. So this area. I won't start that debate, but they are interested in partnering with other counties to create this. And their study concluded that the capital cost estimate would be $27 million, and then there would be operational costs of about $2 to $3 million per year, depending on what was done, with then revenue estimates between 1.3 and 2.6 million, again, depending on the selected autopsy fee, and if we did things like rape kits and BAC, blood testing and that sort of thing. So we have a number of options going forward. Do you wanna jump into it?
So with this, the first option, as you see on the slide, is to keep the coroner's office the way it is. So continuing to partner with Ellis Hospital to have the autopsies done at their location using their facilities, and keeping our 4 elected coroners. The second one is to change the medical examiner model and contract with a local hospital. So obviously, you know, if we did decide to go that route, that would require a discussion with Ellis to see if we could continue to use their facilities, since, again, the price they're giving us from what I'm able to see is pretty competitive. And the services they're providing our coroner's office as well as the county seems to be happy with, I would say. The other option is to change to the medical examiner model and create a regional autopsy facility. Obviously, that's a pretty big shift, but again, you're getting people who are board certified to do this work. You're also getting a facility that's going to be able to have qualified staff and qualified facilities to be able to conduct this very important work, both for the decedents and for their families and the county citizens as a whole.
There are some legal issues related to switching to a medical examiner model, and it would be subject to permissive referendum. The terms of all 4 coroners would automatically expire upon the appointment of a medical examiner, so that would be dealt with that way. But depending on which option the county chose to move forward with would depend on whether we still contracted with a local hospital or had our own facilities. So these are something to keep in mind. This is intended to just start the discussion. My understanding is that the chairwoman is not looking to move this out tonight, but that this is an overview of options and, again, starting that discussion.
Okay, well, before we, Chair Cunningham, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to kind of set the table a little bit, because as Rebecca said, this is a very complex, kind of lots of moving parts discussion. The intent for tonight is to share information about kind of preliminary costs comparatively to other counties, but also to kind of set the table for what our future discussion might look like, which we may end up going in a direction where we're actually staging our, and I say we being the county, not just the county ledge. We have Rebecca and her team, Courtney, has done a great job digging into this, and this is just a very brief sort of synopsis of some of the research that's been really helpful. And Faye, you heard her background, she is a gold mine of academic expertise on top of the research that you've done for the county exec. So we're not gonna move anything out fast. I think it's probably wise to limit, our questions to 5 minutes or something, knowing that the next conversation may look like, here's an outline of some staging thinking about, and this is just a concept, moving to a medical examiner model where we still do autopsies that we contract out. And then the county exec's office, Cam, I think you're kind of the point, along with Faye and others, have done a lot of analysis of this regional idea that has a lot of aspirational promise to raise some revenue, be a regional center, and a lot of work on that. So we may propose at a future meeting kind of a suggested staging idea, what that would look like, costs and so forth. So thank you for indulging me.
Okay, so given that this is the start of the discussion,
Yes.
and there's a lot of deep thought that's gone into this, and that still is going to be happening in developing this proposal, and everything else we have on the agenda tonight. If people have specific questions that they want to ask, very discrete questions, I think that's okay, but I'd like to avoid long statements about the wisdom of this, because we just don't have time for that. So with that, some specific questions. Dustin, I recognize you first.
I only ask discrete questions, so, okay, between the option, if we pass this law and we put this permissive referendum forward, would we need to decide between the option of having a medical examiner model and going with a regional autopsy facility, or does that affect how local law N might be constructed? Is that a decision we would have to make that would go into the writing of this law?
We would rewrite the local
Okay.
law.
Yeah,
Okay.
the law is intended to be rewritten, but because initially it was a larger law that had multiple parts to it and kind of shaved down at this point. So it's ripe for being rewritten. But also we are just ensuring that we're looking at all the options now, so that I think what we're looking at in any event, in any eventuality, is a staged
Yep, okay,
path
got it.
forward. I don't think there's any instance in which we would just all of a sudden decide to do a regional facility this year and the hell with everything else. I mean, I believe from our conversations that we've had that it is intended to be moved forward in stages, in steps, making sure that we have the buy-in from all appropriate parties.
Yeah, and not to get too far ahead of ourselves, because we have had conversations, very positive conversations with our neighbors in Rensselaer, Schenectady, Saratoga, even Warren County. So, they're all seeing the writing on the walls, they all can see that this is the right way to move. But I don't want us to be guaranteeing, a regional mark when we still need to have further conversations with the other counties that may be involved.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Plotsky.
Two quick questions. So the autopsies currently done at Ellis are not by board certified?
So Ellis has those doctors that do the autopsy, so Dr. Ng is typically one that we use. To my understanding, he is board certified. Yes, ma'am.
And if we go with MEs, how many MEs would we be talking about?
So that depends on how large the regional facility is and what that caseload is. So that also depends too, not to get too far in the details, but there's the National Association of Medical Examiners name. If we built a facility, we would look at the possibility of doing a name certified facility, which puts a cap at 250 autopsies per medical examiner as their cap. So based on that, there's a formula we can use to kind of roughly estimate the caseload, and that would inform your staffing model.
Okay. Interesting, thank you.
Mr. Bergdorf, did you have a question?
Yeah, more of an observation, and I applaud the chairwoman for the way you're packaging this in incremental bites. I have a whole bunch of questions that I wouldn't begin to think to raise here, but as you put together your working groups, I would like to point out to you, and I have not been asked to do this by a gentleman sitting 2 seats from me, but you have someone who has 30 years of experience in this entire region in the funeral, mortuary, death industry, and probably knows every coroner by name, etc. And, you know, I'm going to look to him, and I would think most of the people in our conference, on how this takes form. And I know for me, I would like to be able to give my questions to Frank, knowing that he can participate constructively with you as this unfolds, so we end up with something that at the end, we are constantly briefed upon, and it's something that we can all wrap our hands around.
Sure.
So that's what I would like to request, and I think that would help an awful lot, and I'm sorry I threw you under the bus.
I know, it's only gonna be 2 or 3 full days a week that we're gonna need Frank.
There goes coffin sales.
He can take those calls in those meetings, I've seen him do it.
I just had a quick question. So you have capital costs listed here for 27 million. Is there any looking at reuse of like hospitals that are?
That was looking at reuse of, obviously this was not our study. This is a Warren County study done with Warren County properties involved. So they looked at using, I think it was an old jail and an old hospital nearby, and that's the cost it would have been to repurpose and redevelop.
So that cost from the Warren County study, they initially wanted to modify one of their old jails to do it. The jail wasn't gonna work for a number of reasons that are listed in the feasibility study. So that cost is starting from scratch on a plot of land that Warren County had to build the facility, all the equipment in it, as well as like the parking lot associated with it. So that's why that cost seems high.
Mr. Perley.
Yeah, thank you, and I certainly echo Mr. Bergdorf's comment about the wisdom of using what amounts to sort of in-house expertise. But this notion of a regional facility is intriguing. A question, does whether a local county have a coroner or an ME model, does that impact or inform their interest in participating in a regional collective?
I'm hesitant to speak for other counties, but just for reference, Warren County had a coroner model and still has a coroner model, and in our conversations with them, my understanding was they were gonna keep their coroner model and still build out the regional facility.
But why I ask is because all of the counties that are indicated as being interested in working with Warren County, they all follow a coroner model. Whereas the 2 largest counties that would be in our sort of catchment area follow an ME model. So is there anything in following an ME model that would make a county less likely to be interested in participating with a neighboring county in a consortium?
I don't believe so. The neighboring counties that we've spoken to so far, and again, I'm not speaking on their behalf, but in the conversations we've had with them, they have seemed interested in this idea of a regional facility. Obviously, as we move forward slowly, taking appropriate steps, we'll be better suited to answer that.
Okay, great. I want to give, we have a lot left on the agenda.
This is quick.
Okay.
All right, I just want to expand on Susan's question. The $27 million capital cost estimate, then that would be for option 3, correct?
So that's coming from the Warren County
Yes.
feasibility study specific to them. But again, with them, my understanding is they want to keep their coroners and build the regional facility. So it's not necessarily they're swapping the medical examiners, it's they're building the regional facility. And
Right, but that regional facility really then would be really for option 3 on here then?
for the way this is laid out, yes, correct.
Okay,
yes,
all
sir.
right, no, that's fine.
But we don't know if they bought, assumptions about land purchase and
Right,
amortization.
but-
We don't know.
But I'm assuming that higher cost would be if we built our own.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. And then the only other comment I make, I'll have is that, obviously we had the issue with, Albany Medical Center terminating that contract and no longer doing autopsies. And what's to stop Ellis from doing the same thing? I think we have to protect ourselves, in the future as well, so, I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, I think that justifies the sort of move to a regional morgue, right? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. We gotta move on.
Oh, man.
Okay, Mr. Grimm, quickly.
Yeah, my question is, why do we need doctors who are more expensive when coroners can do the job? Is it because when are doctors the only ones that can do autopsies?
Correct, yes, sir. So our
So
coroners
this
are not
plan
doing
would
autopsies.
use doctors to do autopsies to lessen the financial burden of Ellis, which is our sole bidder. Is that one of the rationales for medical examiners?
Potentially, yes, sir, yes.
Okay, I'd be curious as to the numbers here. This sounds
Yeah.
expensive, but it may be worthwhile. But it's really, I think, a matter of crunching numbers in terms of what we can expect.
So I agree with you. And to that point, myself and our other data analyst, Ellie Day, we have been using numbers that are formulas that are provided by the National Association of Medical Examiners in a paper that they wrote. That was a scientific working group specifically to look at regional facilities and their cost. So again, a lot of that is dependent on your population size, which is dependent on which counties are fully interested in potentially using it for all their cases or for a portion. So we're in the process of determining what counties are interested, and if so, what is the level of their interest in being involved in this? And at that point, we'll be in a better position to fully flesh out those numbers and have those estimates.
Okay.
I think.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. More to come.
More to come.
Informative, really, really interesting. Appreciate all the work that's gone into this. Okay, with that, number 5, agenda item number 5, so people can follow along. This is proposed local law. T, table at request of sponsor. 6, table at request of sponsor. 7, table at request of sponsor. 8, table at request of sponsor. Number 9 is we just talked about the public hearing and number 9 would be N, so that's also tabled because it's not moving forward yet. Numbers 10, 11, and 12 also tabled at request of sponsor. Number 13 is, actually, we're gonna talk about public hearing on proposed local law number A for 2025. The local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending the Albany County Charter, and local law number 8 for 1993 as amended for the purpose of clarifying salaries for leadership positions. Okay. Is anybody presenting on this one last? Okay. You presented on this before.
Yeah.
And last we talked about this 2 months ago, there was a legal objection that was raised to this. I think it was tabled to allow for submission by certain members of the minority caucus to submit a letter to the comptroller on that legal issue. Happily, the comptroller did respond since our last meeting. So I feel like while the comptroller, I'll characterize it, said that they didn't really necessarily have the jurisdiction to resolve this particular issue, they did say in sort of dicta that in that letter that this particular local law did not run afoul of the provision of the New York County law that was invoked at the last time this came up 2 months ago. So I'm just trying to level set, move things along. That's where we are, I think. So I'll open it up to people who want to discuss this. Mr. Bergdorf.
We have repeatedly requested an opinion from the county attorney. our council has asked for one. It has not been forthcoming. And-
Luckily, Mr. Canizero from the Law Department is here tonight to speak on it.
Oh, okay. Mr.
Well,
Canizero.
do we have an opinion to hand out, or?
I'm here to give you that opinion and also answer any questions. We thought it would be, given the timeline here, and in order to not slow this down a little more, the county attorney has had a number of issues.
Here comes it.
Sure, has had a number of issues come to, hi, everybody, how you doing? Good to see you. As you know, I'm Kevin Canizero, I think everybody in here. Mr. Bergdorf, the county attorney has had, as he's taken on his new role, a number of, as you know, I'm sure you've been involved in a lot of them, major projects that have captured his attention. He's been working on the opinion, the written opinion, to your inquiry, but he directed me to show up here tonight so that there's not further delay, so that the county attorney's office is here to both answer your question directly and then answer any follow-ups you might have. So the short of it, Chairwoman Cunningham, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, you go.
Say, okay, thank you very much. So the short of it, Mr. Bergdorf and Minority Leader Moriello, in response to your question, we reviewed your question, we took a look at the case law that you cited in your letter back in January. We also reviewed the comptroller's opinion, and over the last 2 months, we've taken a very intensive dive into the county law. So there's 3 or 4 bodies of law at issue here. There's the county law, which you cited, but as importantly, there's the municipal home rule law, which creates the structure through which our entire government functions. And then, of course, there's also the alternative form of government law, which we are established under. So without boring you all with all the history of the county's transition into a chartered county, in the early 70s, we obviously became a chartered municipality. That was by operation of both the municipal home rule law and the alternate government law, alternate form of government law. We are in what's considered an alternate form of government in adopting a charter. As an alternate form of government, you all have the prerogative to determine what the government looks like. You have the ability to, especially as it relates to your body, choose what the officers who lead your body look like, which in this case would be the chairperson, the majority leader, and now the deputy chairperson. You are authorized under the municipal home rule law and alternative government law to create that position. And what's important, Mr. Bergdorf, in response to your inquiry is the county law you have to look at as a general body of law that guides non-chartered counties. When you create a charter, as the County of Albany has, you've now essentially, in many ways, changed what's required generally under the county law. Section 2B of the county law lets counties supersede the county law unless a particular area of law explicitly says it cannot be superseded or overridden. The comptroller, the New York State comptroller is...
I'm sorry, our council is here.
Yes.
Do you have a site for that, where that is?
2B, yes, 2B of the county law. Section 2B of the county law explicitly allows counties to supersede the general provisions of the county law. In effect, that's what you're doing through local law A, which creates the deputy county position, the deputy chairperson position. Local law U for 24 provides the funding for it. Now, one thing that's interesting to note, you all actually voted on the funding, and I think unanimously adopted the funding which contemplated this position and the funding. Oh, I think that was a unanimous vote if I look back at the budget. In doing that, the position, the deputy chairperson role, was explicitly contemplated and funded. So you've already taken a necessary step way back in the fall in doing that. These other 2 laws are certainly necessary to create and fund the deputy chairperson role, but it's being done through, and this was very appropriate that your majority of council put in a permissive referendum language in the law itself. That is, so when you look at the municipal home rule law, that permissive referendum is the voters' opportunity to speak if they don't like a particular law. Certainly, your caucus could garner the necessary 9 or 10,000 votes in the next 45 days if you wanted to defeat it. And that's what the municipal home rule law allows to challenge this kind of a thing. So it's worked into the structure of the municipal home rule law.
Madam Chair, or I don't know who, Mr. Chairman and Madam Chair, it's your proposal. Do you have any objection to our council participating in this discussion? Because first of all, as we sit here, we had reached out multiple times to Jeff. And Jeff is a friend, and he told us a letter was coming. And to have an opinion dropped orally the night of a meeting without having our counsel to be able to dissect that opinion with the county attorney's office to bat ideas back and forth is a little difficult. You talked about Section B, and you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I think the first question that Mr. Bergdorf is trying to figure out is, are we talking about just local law A or local law U as well?
But I think they're read in tandem, so I think the
I understand.
question relates to both local laws. I interpreted
So-
Mr. Bergdorf's question to be related to both.
Okay, so I'll break them out from the
Okay.
tandem so it's easier to follow them. So A creates the position and U funds it. Are we talking about just creating the position or are we talking about funding it?
Well, both are permissible actions. I guess I would need a more detailed question. Both are permissible actions within the scope of the county's authority.
Which one are we talking about putting up for a public hearing, A or U?
So I think both, I would have to look at.
We're moving
right now,
forward
it's
with
just
A tonight.
Just A, so A, I suppose, and that's my mistake, A is moving forward tonight. My point here is, Mr. Bergdorf, obviously this
It's
meeting.
creating the position.
Creating the position.
It is not the issue of funding it.
Well, I guess, Mr. Bergdorf, I came to speak on both, so there's no further delay.
Well, to be honest with you, we have sort of read, and I will let our counsel speak to it, the county law and the chapter jackets that go with it, and the history of how it went from just the chair to the chair and the majority leader, and the chair to the deputy and the minority leader, as requiring separate changes in the county law. At least that seems to be what.
Which is why I think they're two different proposals.
So you're, Mr. Bergdorf, you're talking about two fundamentally different things. So the creation of the deputy chair position is squarely within the power of the county legislature. You all
Okay.
have the authority to create, what all?
We agree with that.
We don't
Okay.
have an objection.
So
And we don't
what?
disagree that you can create the position.
Okay, so I guess, can you target the so that, if that's not disagreeing, I'm just trying to figure out what the narrow question is that is not yet.
Yeah, and I apologize, I was not, I
Yeah.
took Ms. Whelan's spot on the committee, so I
Sure.
was not a party to, but you, a few minutes ago, you said both actions are allowable
Sure.
by a county.
Yes.
By any county in New York State or by one that is an alternate?
So as
Form
an
of government.
alternate form of government, one that's adopted a charter. If you adopt a charter under the municipal home rule law and alternate form of government law, you imbue yourself with the power to take a lot of actions that are not contemplated by the general county law, including superseding provisions that, except for, there are limited provisions, for example, financial provisions that go to budget processes that you would not be able to supersede that are found in sections 356 through 358. That would not be something you could supersede. Go ahead.
I was just, and I think this is consistent, we do not have a problem with the creation of the provision. We believe, however, that 220B is a statutory impediment to the funding of that position.
It's not,
Well,
to be
excuse me,
clear. Well, you were done talking, so I started. Thank
Okay.
you. As Kevin has indicated, as Mr. Canizaro indicated, charter counties can supersede any general or special law which does not specifically say you cannot do it. As indicated, 220B is a general state law which can be superseded by a charter county, which we are, of course, and this is what would do it.
And that's.
And to be
sorry.
clear, thank you, sorry, Kevin, as Mr. Canizaro also indicated, this money was allocated in the budget process last year, and it was voted on unanimously, with this money set forth for this purpose. So this money has actually already been allocated for this. This would just be the actual final legal linchpin which would do it. So, I mean, we can argue legality, although it's incredibly clear from the case law what that this is permissible. So, and as indicated, county attorney does agree as well.
Yeah, I'm incomplete, and I know the county attorney, I spoke to him in depth. And by the way, Mr. Bergdorf, obviously, these meetings are recorded.
Yes.
If we wanted to, we could go into executive session, but we thought it important to come and speak openly about it. This is held in perpetuity, so if your counsel comes upon something that, you believe is takes away a county's authority under the municipal home rule law to supersede the county law, I would like to see it, because it seems the New York State Comptroller has not found it, we have not found it. The New York State Comptroller explicitly said that there's nothing that prohibits this county from taking the action it's doing in funding this position.
No.
That was in their letter.
No, I don't believe they did.
They said there's nothing they are aware of that would prevent the county from superseding this section of law.
Or precedent that would allow you to do it. And I guess the other question is, are you aware of any other counties that do have a deputy chair position that it's funded at?
Well, the counties across, we have a menagerie of different types of what counties look like across the state. That's kind of the beauty of the municipal home rule law. You're all empowered to make your particular county look however you deem fit. So to your question, I haven't reviewed all 62 counties across the state in terms of the officers that lead their county, but I can say what I am familiar with locally, with Schenectady, Rensselaer, Ulster County, Greene County, they all have slightly different structures in their officer body, and that, again, is their prerogative. Some of those actually are not chartered counties, so I won't use all groups of those. But the point is, when you look across the state at the 62 counties that do exist, you're going to find vast differences in what the officers of a particular legislative body look like. And that's intentional.
And I don't mean to split hairs, but I think it's important. We're not arguing about whether you could have a deputy chairperson or a deputy to that chairperson. It's the funding that we think is constrained by county law 200.
So your survey of all those vast different organizations and setups, they may have different titles, they may have different responsibilities. Are they funded?
Yes. I mean, the idea that your funding of this position is explicitly permissible under alternate foreign government or municipal home rule law. The check, the protection that is built into the municipal home rule law is the permissive referendum itself. It allows anyone who's opposed to this type of law to garner the necessary petitions and signatures to challenge the law formally. That's what it allows. And then, to complicate this a little further, the reality is that your officers, with the exception of the chairperson and the majority leader, you can create officers that don't have formal, specific terms. And I read the deputy chairperson role as appointed by the chairwoman, and so the county law provisions that you're talking about speak to firm-termed positions. So there's a little bit of an area there that even if we weren't a chartered county, there would be a question as to whether what you're saying applies. But we are a chartered county, so let's not get too far into the weeds on that. The reality is Albany County, more than 50 years ago, adopted our charter, and since the 70s, we've made several adjustments that have superseded the county law. This is one that is, the funding itself is absolutely permissible.
Okay. I'm gonna, just as a practical matter, there's no dispute, I think we've established now, about local law A and our ability to do that. So I'm gonna ask that we move this forward because the legal debate is no longer applicable to what's actually before us, which is A.
Could I ask that it be amended to say April 29th, 2025, to indicate that this month is the month that would go to a public hearing?
Okay. Yes, hold on a second. Did you-
I was gonna make the motion, yeah.
Okay. So I'll make the motion to amend for this ministerial reason. I'll second. Second. All in favor of amending it for what Rebecca just described?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you catch the amendment?
The amendment is just to change the date of the hearing?
Correct.
April 29th?
Yep.
just so you know, and I'm going to support this because I do not have a problem with local law A. We still have an issue, a legal issue, which we had thought our counsel was going to be able to speak to the county attorney about. And I will not support the next local law until I get a consensus from our council that that is legal and not subject to Section 220. So I'm going to support this now, but with no commitment. I don't buy the two are inextricably linked for purposes of the vote tonight.
Okay,
This is on an amendment right now.
so this is on the amendment.
Yeah, but I just
have
wanted
not
to.
heard the votes from your.
Yes,
board.
yes, on the amendment.
Okay, so the amendment passes. Now to send, this is to send local law A to public hearing? Okay, on sending local law A to public hearing, all.
You
Oh,
can vote.
I'll make the motion.
Al second his.
Can I make just a point of inquiry first?
Sure.
Was the opinion, and again, it predated me, but was the opinion that was requested, was it relative to both A and U?
The opinion that was requested from the comptroller or from the county attorney?
From the county attorney?
I
I
believe
believe
it
it
was the
was,
same.
that's why I came tonight, Mr.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Early.
he's opined on both.
Well, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your presentation, but I'm gonna vote no because of the process. I think when a legislator asks for, and is given enough time to ask for an opinion, I mean, as soon as I was put on this committee, I did 2 or 3 days worth of research on this issue, and to be able to, just sort of parry back and forth verbally in a committee set without the benefit of actually sitting down and looking at the citations and being able to, I think we
True
have to
enough.
establish the precedent of, when we ask for an opinion, we should be able to get an opinion.
That's fine, but you also are saying that notwithstanding, you don't have, there's no live dispute about the legality of local law A.
Yes, and I don't assume that the formal county opinion, or formal county attorney's opinion will be otherwise, so.
Okay.
So yes, I still don't like the idea of voting on something that we asked for
Well,
an opinion for,
but
and we
that's fine.
haven't gotten it.
Okay.
Mr. Canizero, I appreciate you coming tonight and giving the opinion of the county attorney. I also appreciate that, I think the majority council, I think the chair's council, prior to Mr. DeBoza taking the reins, so to speak, also gave their opinions on this law. And I am not a lawyer, but as has been said, I think more than a few times tonight, the legality of local law A is obvious. So with that, looking forward to voting to
Okay, thank you for that.
put this forward.
For that statement.
I'm gonna make one.
No, I'm shutting it
Well, I'm
down.
gonna change my vote to no then.
I'm shutting it down.
I'm
Okay.
gonna
I
change
second
my
it.
vote to no.
I seconded his.
Okay, so all in favor of sending local law A to public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed?
No.
Okay. Now, moving on to,
Do you need me for the next one, or is? Okay.
No, you're good.
don't
Thank
go
you.
too far.
Okay, you've been plenty enough.
Okay, so back to the agenda. Agenda item 14, at least in my copy, is tabled pending the public hearing. Now, are we,
Which number are, wait a
so
second.
now we're on to current business. Whatever you have on Granicus that starts with current business, whatever. Number 15 for me,
16 on Granicus.
16 on Granicus. Thank you, Madam Chair. So number 15 is amending the Albany County Code to require a 2/3 majority to adopt a tax increase. Whose is this?
Drake.
All right, Mr. Drake,
Good evening.
please, the floor is yours.
2/3.
Well, this is a proposal for amending the county to require a 2/3 majority to adopt a tax increase. I think that, not to have anybody misconstrue the purpose of this, I think the county in general has been excellent in working on holding the line on taxes and reducing taxes. And, we don't know that future actors might feel the same way that many of us in this body have been working hard to keep the finances in check for our taxpayers, our constituents. And I think this is a very simple way of helping discourage raising taxes without, strong reasons by requiring 2/3 vote, 2/3 majority. Very straightforward. Just in the way of details, I think, frankly, it sends a clear message to our constituents that this body doing the work that it has, doing it well, we'd like to see, hopefully future bodies continue that. And I think it's a little bit of, an incentive to really look carefully at raising taxes if you have a 2/3 majority required to do so.
Okay, so you want to pass this, your assertion is essentially that this body has been responsible as currently constituted, but you want to put this restriction on to constrain the ability of future
It could be today, it could be in the future. What I was saying, just to reiterate, is I think that many of us would agree we've done a good job as a body in keeping taxes as low as possible, or even reducing them. But I can't say that might continue, and I'd like to try to put some guardrails in that might keep future bodies really focused on the finances of their constituency.
All right, so this is also a counter-majoritarian provision, right? It would require more than require 2/3 vote to do
2/3 vote.
something?
That's right.
Okay. As a matter of law, why is this not a local law?
I don't know that answer. I guess we should ask council. Can you step in on that question, please?
For it to have any legal effect, to be binding on the future legislators, and it would have to be a local law.
I can't answer that question from a legal standpoint, but do we have something handy for that, or is that something we can bring back?
Yeah, that's something we can bring back to you, Chairman.
Okay.
Okay, so what are you doing procedurally then?
Well, are there other questions here, or is this just a question of whether it should be a law or a resolution?
Well, legally, it can't move out as stands.
No, I'm not asking it to move out, but I
Because
was
it's
hoping
legally
there'd be some discourse or other questions that might, proceed. I mean, I'm not in a hurry.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions about this? Chair Cunningham?
I was trying to figure out what problem are you trying to solve? And your answers are, you're not trying to solve any problem because the county exec and the legislature have done their due diligence for many, many years. The county exec's in his 4th term. I don't think he's ever raised taxes. So you're trying to solve a problem in the future, which, I don't see the need to do that. So I don't get it, and I'm not supportive.
Was there a question in there? Because I think you posed a question, Madam Chair.
Well, I answered my
And then answered the question
There's no
that I would
problem
give
to
you.
solve.
Rhetorical question.
But I
So
did,
she made a rhetorical question.
I did, and
Should I make a rhetorical response?
if you want.
Okay. So my response would be that we haven't held the line on every tax, so that's
Well, it
certainly true.
depends on how you define tax, and I noted in there that you have a very sort of intent to broaden out how you,
Well, we can define it very simply. Any legislative item that increases, extends, imposes, or revives any tax, fee, assessment, surcharge, or any other such levy or collection.
all right, it's a big, big bucket,
It is a big bucket.
yeah.
So
And I'm
while
sure
we've
that
done
was
some good
intentional.
work, we could do more. I think we could be more, I think we could be considering the taxpayer at all times rather than just sometimes. And just because we've done some good work doesn't mean that we will continue to do it. It doesn't mean that the county executive will be the county executive forever. We don't know what might happen in the future. We don't know that this body will continue to be populated by some people who are, very much interested in the taxpayers' finances. So I'm solving not so much a problem, but creating a precedent that I think is important. And I think it sends a message.
Okay, Mr. Reed?
So just so I'm clear, can we even vote on this tonight if it's legally insufficient?
I think we can vote.
Okay.
Here's, first of all, substantively, I'll give you my opinion. There's no problem that this would be solving, and even if there was, it is of no legal effect. If we pass this thing, it's not going to have the effect that you desire to have. It will not constrain future legislatures to require a 2/3 vote. So I'm not gonna support it because it doesn't do anything, right? It doesn't, even your objective, which I don't agree with, this won't accomplish it as a matter of law. So,
Okay, I mean, look, regardless, yeah, I appreciate this is straightforward. It's straightforwardly a terrible, terrible idea. I hope all my colleagues would join me in voting this negatively and not passing out of committee. It's a terrible idea for obvious reasons. So I won't support this. Mr. Gregg, I think you should withdraw this because one, it doesn't do anything, it would cause problems and might be legally insufficient anyways.
Can I just ask? Thank you. Just a follow-up question. Todd, I guess I just really don't understand. You want to go from 20 to 19, if it was a closed vote, right, to 26 to 13. I don't understand the reasoning behind it.
It's simple math.
Well, I know it's simple math, but I don't understand why you
More
want
people
to.
would need to be on board in raising taxes to raise taxes. I mean, I think it's
But that's
pretty clear.
disrespectful to every one of the 39 legislators who come from all different municipalities to make their own decisions.
I'm not sure I understand that.
Well, why don't you
They're still
understand
making their own decisions.
I might not
It's
agree
a
with something in, I don't
majority
know, Joanne's
required.
district as an example, okay, or Susan's district, okay? But I have to make a decision that's in the best interest of my municipality, whatever that is, whatever item we're talking about. So the way I understand it, in a constitutional republic, what I understand is the majority would rule. So 20 to 19, why do we need to go to 26 to 30? I don't understand it.
Well, I don't know, let me try to restate this. So, the idea being that in order to raise taxes, a broader number of people within this body would have to be on board with making that increase. Okay, so it helps to prevent perhaps, narrowly intended narrowly supported tax increases, but gets a broader consensus among the group in order to do that. So we're emphasizing here that people's finances are probably one of the most important, if not the most important things that they look to any legislative body for assistance with, whether it be us or any other counterpart at any level. So, while it seems that there's a little animosity toward this, I think the intent here is still a positive one that is hard to deny, that we're I personally am trying to prevent, wanton tax increases of any kind, if possible. And one way to do that is to, require broader support. And
I just don't think
that
it's
helps.
necessary. That's just my personal opinion.
You may not think it's necessary, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have meaning.
all right, Dr. Malone.
Thank you. I'll just jump off of the last thing. It doesn't mean it doesn't have meaning, but I heard initially in the conversation it's trying to solve a problem that really does not exist. And you're talking about numbers that may not even exist. Who's to say that this body is always going to have 39 people? Who's to say that the county executive and/or the members of this body are going to remain the same? So I just think we're trying to do something. We're trying to create a situation to satisfy a concern that you have. But I believe everybody is concerned about the level of taxation in the county. But right now, I can't justify it for myself. I'm trying to find out what is it solving, and right now it's not. And the future body of the county legislature is also subject to change. So these numbers are always going to be in flux as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks for your input. I just have two responses. I think one is that a mathematical majority has no dependence on the number of legislators. So there could be 69
But
legislators
we
or
were talking
99.
specific numbers, that's why.
No, Mr. Ricard was talking specific numbers. But this resolution contemplates a 2/3 majority, which is just simple math. Like if we were to reduce the size, it would be that many less. But so it's not about specific numbers. I just wanted to be clear on that. The second thing is that I know of no form that needs to be submitted with a resolution that it solves a problem. We do a lot of resolutions here, and many of them are to improve things or take steps forward. Solving a problem is not one of the criteria for having a resolution or a local law, frankly. So, with that said, it's a 2/3, regardless of the size of the body, to be clear.
That's clear.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Well, you want to know what the problem it addresses is? All of us have gone out and probably done petitions over the last month or so. How many of your neighbors say the cost of living in New York is too high and they're moving out of the state? I get it constantly when I go door to door. I gotta leave. I'm going south. Well, maybe you don't get it. Maybe you have all rich neighbors. I don't. But I get it at most of the houses that I go to, which is the cost of government. There is a reason that this state is like first in flight from this state. It's because of the propensity to tax. Nobody sits around and says, how do we cut the budget? How do we reduce taxes? So aspirationally, I think we're setting a guardrail that says if we're going to increase taxes, let it be really important. Let us be convinced that we didn't try to reduce vacant positions, consolidate somewhere, consider other types of mechanisms to develop services with more cost-efficient options. So aspirationally, and you're going to hear that word again when you get to me, aspirationally, the decision to put a guardrail on taxes is a good thing. And if you don't even want to contemplate, there's no reason to support this.
None.
Of course, because there are certain people that never met a tax they didn't like. We have put,
Mr. Perlis.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I agree that procedurally this is not ripe and it should be tabled and upon further examination of the proper vehicle. But substantively, the discussion around the table that that there's no problem that this measure addresses, I cannot agree with this. I was at a family gathering for a memorial service down in Florida last week with 5 of my cousins, 5 siblings who all were from Albany County. Not one of them lives here anymore. 2 in Virginia, 1 in North Carolina, 1 in Florida, 1 in
Our
Arizona.
population's growing though,
It's true.
in Albany County. You see that?
But the point is, and I said, in discussions, they'll never come back because it's because taxes are too high. So the problem is perception, and perception is reality. When we task Kevin O'Connor and his team to go out and try to get people to come here, get businesses to come here from out of state, he no doubt deals with that reality, that problem, every single time he does that. So if we were to arm Kevin with a provision to say, well, no, our county legislator, it takes 2/3 majority, so you can rest assured that notwithstanding what you may have heard or whatever, but in Albany County, and build on the reality that the county executive has not increased that. That's all part of the equation. But just to say there's no problem at all that this addresses is just, that's fantasy land.
All right, people can have disagreements about whether the problem exists. This committee functions, first and foremost, as a screen to prevent things from going further which are of no legal effect or are procedurally profoundly flawed, which this is. So I'm going to vote no on this. Hold on, sir. I'm going to vote no on this because it does not pass the screen of basic legality. So it cannot pass the law committee.
So, Mr. Chairman, I suggest then that we table this to figure out what the holes in the legality may be. But
You can reintroduce it when it's legal, but I also feel fairly confident from the sense of this committee that it's going to be defeated. So if you want to try and reintroduce it at some point as an actual legal measure, you can do it, but I'm inclined to
So we don't have
vote
the
on
right
the
to table that?
substance of this tonight.
It's my understanding we can table it.
You can make a motion.
No, you can table it at request of sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Just to be clear, though, you may want to withdraw it because you would have to reintroduce it as a local law, and that's the only way in which it will be able to move forward.
Appreciate that, we'll consider that.
Thanks.
Okay, so that's tabled. Thank you. Okay, number 16, the second item under current business, requiring advanced notice of acts of the legislature. Who is the sponsor of this? Mr. Grimm.
All right. Mr. Chairman, distinguished legislators, I appreciate your willingness to hear what I have to say tonight. I have 3 items in this resolution that I believe are truly reform, and I think it's reform that's needed. They will make our government run better. Number 1, every member, and every member of the public for that matter, should be provided 48 hours on a resolution of law before it's brought to a vote. What does it take to be a real good legislator? You have to be able to do research. You have to check with counsel, check with staff, check with constituents, check with constituent groups. That's a lot to do in 48 hours, but that's, I'm willing to say, let's at least give us 48 hours in advance. Where has this been the big, you talk about a problem. The adds and deletion meeting every year, and I've been through 9 of them now. What happens is we all come together. Wanda runs the budget meetings, there's 5 or 6 of them, Democrat legislators, Republican legislators, we all got our questions, we all have our comments, and then things go dark. And then we have an adds and deletion meeting where we add or delete things from the budget, and clearly there's been negotiation privately prior to that. And during these adds and deletions, we get as little as 1 hour and 10 minutes, which happened this year. We got 1 hour and 10 minute notice on what is even going to be on the adds and deletions. That's not acceptable. That's simply not acceptable. I want to change that. I believe the 48 rule hours is reasonable and we should be doing it. I don't know why someone would be against it. Secondly, if we pass this, the problem is Rule 11. Rule 11 says we know what our rules are, but we're not going to go by the rules tonight. So I think, and oftentimes I understand Rule 11s are, they missed a deadline, they have to get it to the floor, and it's a unanimous vote, say, okay, that's fine. But I believe anyone should be able to object to a change in Rule 11. If there's one member who objects to a Rule 11, it shouldn't go through, because Rule 11 says we're not going to go by the rules, we're going to go by what we're doing tonight with Rule 11. And by the way, there's precedent for that. During the ARPA money funding, just one member speaks up, and the consent agenda, we take that item off the consent agenda. So it's there's a precedent where one member can alter activity. Third is the abstentions. We just changed the abstention law for anyone who might have one of the members wasn't sure how to vote, so he wanted to abstain, and we changed the law so that you would have, if you had a peculiar financial interest. But I think there should be a second reason. The frustration any member would have is they're faced with the vote. Should they vote yes without having a chance to review all the materials and research the bill? I don't think that's fair. Should they vote no because the bill might be appropriate, but they haven't had time to adequately research it? So there should be one reason, a reasonable reason to abstain is you haven't provided sufficient notice on legislation that you're required as part of your job to investigate, research, find out what other opinions are, and therefore make the best vote based on your own conscience. So that's what I'm proposing. It's government reform, and I think they're all sensible points of view, and I will entertain any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? All right, seeing none.
I'll make the motion for a negative recommendation.
Motion for recommendation.
Negative recommendation.
All right, all in favor?
Wait, nobody's going to say why they're voting negative?
They don't have to.
Yeah, well, that's the exact lack of transparency I'm talking about. Because I don't know how you can.
Mr. Grimm.
I brought you a proposal,
Mr. Grimm,
you can't say
you're
why
not
you're against
recognized.
it. What's that?
You're not recognized. All right, we have a motion on the floor, it's been seconded. All in favor of moving this out with a negative recommendation?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Okay. Next, thank you. Number 17, third item under current business. Amending various resolutions for the purpose of revising the composition of certain boards. Is this Mr. Moriello? Okay. Mr. Moriello.
Okay, mine is very simple this evening. Initially, this started as, while I've now been in the legislature for almost 10 years, I've noticed that we've appointed different members to different boards throughout the county. And I noticed that the minority conference has not had the ability to appoint members to certain boards. And I asked my staff to research this to see which boards we have the ability to appoint people to and which boards we do not. And this actually broadened my proposal. There are 4 boards that the minority conference does not have an appointment to: the Land Bank, the Albany County IDA, the Scenic Roads Committee, and the Human Services Advisory Board. But in our research, we discovered that the majority leader also does not have an appointment to any of these boards, which we're looking for fairness. This is not it's not a political resolution. This is something that I think brings fairness and representation. The minority conference represents a good 70,000 people in Albany County, but the majority leader should also have a say and also should have an appointment to these 4 boards. So my proposal is that we allow both the majority and the minority leaders to have appointments to the Land Bank, the Albany County IDA, the Scenic Roads Committee, and the Human Services Advisory Board. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Morello,
Yes.
it's the same thing. This is a resolution. You can't amend sections of the county code via a resolution.
It has to be a local law.
It's gotta be a local law.
All right, then what I'll do is I'll table it at the request of the sponsor, and we'll come back and
Okay.
present it as a local.
Well, it's tabled.
I just want to make a point to make a
Okay.
Oh,
motion.
and if, I mean, there can still be discussion, if anybody wants to ask me any questions.
Well, we are
Once it's tabled.
32 minutes over the allotted time, so,
Very, very quick point, and it's not to the merits of it, but to your list, if we actually move on one of the matters that was tabled for tonight, to your list of entities that do not have minority representation, you would have to add the Public Art Fund as well, because as drafted, it allows for representation from the chair, the majority, the Black Caucus, but none from the minority. So hopefully,
We'll
the
add
spirit
that.
of this will pervade through that legislation so that when we do take that up, it can move forward.
all right, duly
Okay,
noted.
so we're-
Okay, all set, thank you. Okay, that brings us to, I believe, our, no, okay. Item 18, fourth item of the current business, amending the Albany County Legislative Rules of Order for the purpose of committee consolidation and reform.
Yeah, you're gonna be very happy, because I am gonna talk for about 2 minutes and then suggest that we have a further discussion at the Rules Committee later. I didn't realize that this would go to 2 committees, but I just want to give you a sense. This is aspiration. I have no belief that this would pass in the form that it's in. But I think this meeting is illustrative of what I am trying to accomplish. Right now, we have 10 committees, or 12 committees, 10 and 2 special committees. And because we're trying to fit everything into 3 nights, we are limited to 30 minutes per meeting. And this meeting has gone now for 1 hour and 35 minutes because of the depth and the substance of the articles that are included in it. What I am trying to do is say, let's consolidate down to 10 committees. We used some rationale to take a look at some committees that met very rarely, once or twice a year, once every 3 months, had 2 items on it. People are coming here for a 5-minute meeting and suggesting that maybe there are more efficient ways to deal with that subject matter, make the denominator of meetings smaller so that there could be more time. So, what does this do? It changes committees from 12 to 10, and the membership stays the same as the percentage that's currently in the law. It gives any member of the committee, if they see an agenda like this, to say, ask the chairman to extend the meeting time, so that there is the ability. I can't tell you, and this is not a knock on Vicky, I can't tell you how many times we said, on important issues, we gotta stop here, because there are 20 people waiting in the wings for the next meeting. And we are ending up having 4-minute conversations on subjects like the coroner, or like, some of the other more knotty issues we talked about this evening. And this is the only place where you really have the ability to mold information. So I am looking for a more robust, the ability to create. And it's at the chairman's request. I don't suggest that I get to make a decision. Any member of a committee could ask for a meeting to be extended. There's a rules committee meeting that was supposed to start 35 minutes ago, but can you imagine if one of these meetings, we've had items in Public Works, we ran way over yesterday, right, Bill?
Yeah.
And everybody in social services is in the wings, and everybody's got questions, and we just couldn't do it. So once again, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, I'm just suggesting that a one-size-fits-all, 30 minutes per meeting is not the appropriate thing.
Okay, but you're
Okay.
tabling it.
I'm tabling it.
Okay, then we're gonna,
But I just want,
you said 2 minutes. and
yeah, okay.
There's more than that.
Consolidation, expand the time, and chair to be able to call hearings. Hearings, imagine that, where you could actually have people come in and you or I, instead of being told, we can't ask them a question, they can't say anything, there's no interrelationship with the people that are judged by our actions. There's no give and take. That doesn't exist in any other level of government that I know of. So I'm also suggesting that chairs of our committees would be able to call hearings on subjects that were important.
Okay, that's
That's it, and
okay.
it's aspirational, and I hope we can find some things to coalesce around and work towards.
Okay, 19.
Doesn't require eliminating.
Public hearing on proposal, this is a public hearing.
So this is withdrawn, tabled, not withdrawn, excuse me, tabled by the sponsor.
Yes, got it. 19, public hearing on proposed local law B for 2025, a local law, it's called the County of Albany, New York, amending chapter blank of the Albany County Code, setting forth requirements of the Albany County Department of Health notify local elected officials regarding,
Oh, yeah.
that should be elevated contaminant levels found in drinking water in Albany County.
So
Chair Cunningham.
I will actually take 2 minutes, even less. So we've had really good discussions with the health department folks, and they have marked it up. We also are in the process of talking more about kind of practical notification lists with the execs, so we had a meeting to kind of walk through that. So we're gonna table it, we'll come back with those suggestions, but tabling it for right now.
Okay, great, thank you. And then that also would table item 20 automatically. And that, I believe, concludes our agenda.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Swati, Ricard, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Yay.
Longest law.